Okay, today we're going to take a look at the difference between the Tamiya Super Clod Buster and the TXT-2 chassis. We'll see what the difference is between the two stock kits, and we'll make a comparison from there. Okay, we're going to start with the Tamiya Super Clod Buster. Hard plastic ABS body. 8 coil-over shocks, basically just springs with rubber tubes on the shaft to limit travel, decent sized tires and wheels. Now this originally came with a 4x4x4 grill in it, but I was fortunate enough to have a few old Chevy grills, which I don't have anymore. I used the last ones and gave the other ones away. But I think it looks much better. The breather is off the original, well, not the original, but off this Super Clod Buster kit. It came with these parts, which is just like on the original Clod Buster from '86. And I like it much better than that funky, stupid blower looking thing that they have on there. It was just ugly. Going down to the suspension, that's it. That's all you get. And if you look, there's a steering servo saver right here on the axle, but you don't have a lot of room to get up there, because otherwise the gearbox will bottom out on the chassis. If I can do it right, that would be great. And if you could see, that would be even better. But you really can't see that well, but trust me, you don't have a lot of suspension travel. Lifting off the hard plastic body. We got the radio tray. Originally it had a mechanical speed controller that sat there. This came with an electronic speed controller. Not this one, but came with a dual motor speed controller from Tamiya. And underneath this, I already pulled the screws out, is a single servo with long rods that does the dual steering, or the four-wheel steering. A lot of bumps there in that design. It's really, I mean, it's good for what it is. If you want to bash around, obviously you've seen my videos of me running this thing. I don't have a problem. There's the dual motor on axle. This is the whole gearbox axle assembly, and this is the other gearbox axle assembly. It's got side radius arms and these four lower suspension arms, two in each end here, front and rear. It's heavy, does what it should. A lot of people replace the stock 540s with 550s. Problem being is you add another 10 millimeters of motor length, you're very close to this radius arm on the side there. And that can take the wires, insulation off the motor wires, and screw all that up. But it can be done, and it's fun. For bashing around, yeah, it's a great kit for what is it, about $275? So it's not bad. Let's compare that with the stock TXT-2. Okay, here we have stock Tamiya TXT-2 Agrios. This is just a recent build. Comes with a Lexan body. Comes with four-wheel drive, 4 oil-filled shocks, or excuse me, 8 oil-filled shocks. And you get much more suspension travel with this than you do with the stock Clod. And we'll pull the body off. Up here you have a radio plate and a battery box. This too is also a twin motor design. As you can see, the twin motors sit up high on the chassis, so it's got a higher center of gravity, but it has 4-link suspension, central mounted gearbox that transmits power to the differentials via drive shafts. This too could also be set up with 4-wheel steering, but you need 2 servos to do it, and most likely you're going to need a radio that's got steering mixing and endpoint adjustments, EPA, because otherwise the steering throw is going to be too much and you could burn out a servo, burn out a receiver. Not sure how all that works, but this is the stock TXT-2. Got much more ground clearance and suspension articulation over the stock Clod Buster. Be right back. Comparing the two trucks head on, face to face here, the Clod stands a little bit taller. It's got this plastic roll bar that you got to be careful with. These lights do snap most of the time in rollovers. A lot of guys leave them a little loose so it could rotate to help absorb some of the shock if it rolls. However, a lot of guys replace the bodies anyway. The tire difference, there's a big tire difference, with the TXT-2 being a far superior monster truck over the Clod, which is an iconic vehicle in itself. I mean, it's a classic. The tires on the TXT-2 just do not do it justice, and they're just awful. I can see why people change them out. Let's do some tire articulation. Okay, one of my old ammo cans. Obviously, it's about 7 inches tall, but for tire articulation, this isn't bad. Let's try the Clod on that and see what happens. Clod Buster doesn't have a shot in hell. So, yeah. But again, both of these trucks are stock. These are just friction shocks. The TXT-2 has oiled shocks, and it's also got the 4-link suspension and an open design chassis to allow the differentials and things to move a little farther and have a better travel. So, yep, this one, no bueno. Alright, this here's another one of my Clod Busters. It's got Proline wheels and tires on it. It's got ThunderTech Racing Ripper Pro chassis on it, which is carbon fiber. It's got the aluminum sway bar arms on it. It's got Proline dual rate springs and shocks. It's got 2 vintage Trinity Speed Gems 2 Platinum 13 triples, I think they are. It's got an old vintage Novak Super Rooster, which was actually new when I got it. It was set up and that was about it. The underside, it's similar to what the TXT-2 is. In fact, this design is loosely based on probably the old ESP chassis before either one of the TXT trucks came out. I think ESP was one of the first chassis companies that make a 4-link for the Clod. I don't think Bennett did. I don't think JPS did. There's a lot of them after that, but those were the 3 major ones back in the early mid-90s, I think it was. New Era also had some. Sadly, a lot of these places are out of business. Flip it over. You can see the behind the axle steering servo, which is a high-tech down here. It's actually kind of hard to see, but flip it up this way. You could actually see it's actually behind the axle. That's part of Thunder Tech. Here's the upper links. As for tire articulation with this one, outstanding. Even with those small shocks, the other 3 tires are still on the ground. And those are short shocks. This is, like I said, this is my my race Clod, even though I play with it out in the dirt, racing my buddies. I don't race monster trucks anymore. I kind of gave it up. Got a little too expensive. And I just don't have the time to actually drive 30, 45 miles or whatever it is to get into the city just to do some races, and let alone go out of state. But that's that, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Oh, the battery sits down here, just slides in, and there's 2 O-rings that loop around and hold the battery in place. So it's got a lower center of gravity than the other 2 trucks. Other than that, guys, you could actually see the difference in how wide those Proline rims are. I think those are 17.5mm offsets, so it gives it a quite wider stance. I only run front steering on this because honestly I don't need 4-wheel steering on this truck. A lot of guys do brushless in these now. I think it's a bit overkill. I never seen a real monster truck go scale speeds in excess of 300 miles an hour. Yeah, speed is fun, but speed also breaks more parts. I keep it realistic. I think the Guinness World Record of a monster truck was 101 miles an hour, and that was purposely set up on a drag strip. So he had a long run to get up to that speed. So in reality, you get a monster truck that does anywhere between, say, 10 and 30 miles an hour, maybe not even 30. You're doing all right. You're ahead of the game. Okay, guys, well, any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks again for watching. You guys have a good weekend. Later.